This video introduces Sula as a text that negotiates key tensions informing Morrison's identity as a Black female American writer during the long 1960s. As I have stressed, the post-war period witnessed postmodernism, which involved an intensification of the modernist rejection of humans as autonomous individuals who do great things over time. However, not all African Americans during the time when Morrison began writing Sula, 1970, were postmodernists. Many American Black leaders were deeply invested in the idea of progress, and especially the progress of Black people in the United States, who over time moved from enslavement to the abolition of slavery to the artistic achievements of the Harlem Renaissance up to the civil rights era. Some of those Black leaders were not only attached to the idea of progress, but also invested in the gender asymmetries that had long informed Western ideas of humanity. Morrison was deeply invested in Black identity, but she was also a feminist and a postmodern intellectual. In other words, the challenge Morrison takes up in Sula is that of thinking about history and identity in a manner that resists patriarchy, racism, and traditional ideas about humanity and progress. For example, the novel engages history in a manner that critiques grand narratives of progress, even those employed by Black Americans or feminists. The book is organized in terms of dates that reference major historical events such as World War I, the Harlem Renaissance, World War II, and the Civil Rights Movement. But Morrison is a pomo writer. Note as you read Sula how Morrison, instead of offering a coherent sense of history, and especially a narrative where things get better over time, disorients the reader. Morrison teases at a sense of history that resonates with contemporary ideas of Black progress, only to resist them. Turning from history to identity, let's touch on a broad way that Morrison represents identity in a manner that resists older ideas about the human that modernity embraced. The novel is called Sula. By titling the novel after the name of a person, Morrison engages the long literary tradition of centering texts on individual protagonists, a tradition that Equiano's narrative and Shelley's Frankenstein exemplify. Not unlike portraiture in visual art, those texts focus on individual people through both their titles and the constant attention they devote to those persons. Because Morrison names her work after a woman, she particularly engages the practice of centering novels on individual women. But again, Morrison teases us with a traditional perspective only to resist it. The novel is called Sula, but Sula's presence is deferred or put off. There are many chapters where Sula is not present or scarcely present. Her first sustained appearance is not until the 49th page of a 174-page novel, all of which is to say, a helpful hermeneutic or interpretive key to Sula is its project of rejecting in a postmodern fashion Western ideas of the human, but also imagining a powerful Black female self. As you read, keep in mind the traditional Western system of imagining society with its binary oppositions and hierarchies, and ask yourself, how does Morrison reject traditional ideas of social order, history, and identity? And conversely, ask yourself how Morrison imagines alternate social orders, temporalities, and identities. I'll end by quoting from an interview in which Morrison explains what she is after in her novels. My effort, she explains, is to be like something that has probably only been fully expressed in Black music. This something is the quality of hunger and disturbance in spirituals and jazz that never ends. Jazz always keeps you on the edge. There is no final chord, a long chord, but no final chord.